There are decisions in life you make that you know are going to go horribly wrong. Like when you're on a night out and you know you should go home, but you decide to have one last beer for the road. And then when you've left the pub, you know you should just walk straight past the doner kebab shop. Well, let me tell you, watching Madam Web is going to be one of these decisions, and the effect on your body will be pretty much the same. This film has been universally panned by everyone. Even people who thought the Marvels was good has been slagging off this raging shit show. Following the spin-offs of Morbius and Venom, Sony are now squeezing out the dregs of Marvel to expand their own version of the Spideyverse. If you've never heard of Madam Web, then you're not alone. The film starts in the 1970s, with heavily pregnant scientist Constance Webb leading a team in the jungle. They're searching for an exotic spider which has radical healing properties and will save the world. If this sounds familiar, then you're probably thinking of that other superhero movie where another scientist is leading a team in the jungle. He's searching for an exotic bat which has radical healing properties and will also save the world. You can imagine my surprise when perusing IMDb when I discovered that the writers of Madam Web are none other than the same writers who inflicted Morbius on the world. I can just see Matty and Berkey in the writer's room now. Fancy a few beers, mate? Nah, we better not, geezer. We've got to write the opening scene for that Madam Web movie tomorrow. Come on, mate, just a couple of cheekies. Nah, honestly, can't, mate. It's a bad idea. Tell you what, we'll just use the opening scene from Morbius. Marvel fans are dumb. They won't notice. Why the producers decided to use the writers from Morbius is beyond me. That film was absolutely shocking and was universally shat on from a great height. You'd think they'd maybe give someone else a go. Anyway, back in the jungle and Constance manages to find the spider. So easily, in fact, it must have landed on her head, done a little dance and waved a neon sign reading, "Come and get your life-saving spiders here." Constance is busy patting herself on the back when her colleague, Ezekiel Sims, goes all Raiders of the Lost Ark on her and starts blasting everyone. It turns out he wants the spider for himself. Constance gets shot and is momentarily saved by some super-powered spider people who wear fishnet stockings on their heads. They administer some questionable first aid, which does nothing for Constance in the long term, but does enable her to give birth to a daughter whom she names Cassandra. We then scoot forward 20 years. Cassandra is all grown up and working as an EMT in New York City. Whilst attending a traffic accident, Cassie manages to drown herself and has to be revived by Spider-Man's uncle. When she wakes up, she realises she can now see into the future. Elsewhere, it turns out Ezekiel has been using the spider's venom to become the worst supervillain in the history of supervillains. He's been having visions of his own and now believes that 3 girl superheroes will team up and kill him at some point in the future. His great plan to stop this from happening is to find them and kill them before they can be a threat to him. If this sounds familiar, then you're mistaken. This idea is completely original and has never been done in movies before.
Sort of retroactive abortion?
Unfortunately for Ezekiel, Cassandra has a vision which enables her to see the impending slaughter and foil his dastardly plans. What then follows for the next hour is a torturous rip-off of Terminator crossed with Next, but this film is 100 times worse than either of these movies. Everything about this movie is terrible. Dakota Johnson from 50 Shades of Grey plays Cassandra Webb, which is ironic because this film is 50 Shades of Shite. The actress herself has said that she hasn't watched the movie, and I don't blame her. If I could unsee it, I would. Johnson has even hinted in interviews that the script for the final movie was not the same as the movie she signed up for. And you can tell, she clearly wants to be anywhere else other than appearing in this shower of defecation. Ezekiel, played by Tahar Rahim, has to be the worst, crappiest supervillain of all time. I've been more intimidated by David Bowie's bulge in Labyrinth. He is also uninteresting. So uninteresting the writers don't even bother giving him a backstory. Why did he steal the spider? What has he been doing with the spider since he betrayed Cassandra's mum? What are his motivations? What has he been doing to incur the wrath of 3 girl boss superheroes? No one knows and no one seemingly gives a fuck. He just seems to be a feeble T-800 impersonator in wrestling tights. We only know that he's a bit useless. He's not even as scary as Milo from Morbius. At least he had killer dance moves that could induce violent vomiting at any moment. The film itself is massively boring with not much happening. It is painfully slow and there is very little action. The three young actresses look more frightened of the script than of the villain. Every now and then you can see a look of pure horror on their faces as they realise their future careers might be going down the toilet after appearing in this shocker. Like Johnson, they look like they want to be anywhere else. To be honest, the best part of the film is where all three girls are cornered in a diner and are killed off one by one. Unfortunately, this turns out to be one of Cassandra's visions. I felt they could have used this device more often. They could have killed them off in visions more often, and the deaths could have got more ridiculously violent and over the top as the film progressed. It could have been a bit of a running joke and would have been a way of getting more action into the movie. Instead, most of the action is limited to slow-motion car chases. There are no great superhero punch-ups as we've come to expect from other superhero movies. Although the action is terrible, we do get some great comedy, like the scene where Cassandra pops over to the Amazon to find out about her past. I didn't know you could get to the remote Amazon on the New York subway, but Cassandra gets there and back in the blink of an eye. Where did her mother find the spider exactly? Was it hanging out at Lima Airport? Cassandra just rocks up in the Amazon jungle and easily finds the place where her mother got splattered. In the trailer, the three new superheroes are quite prominent. They're wearing costumes and kicking ass and taking names, but where are they? They're not in this film. The girls don't even receive any special powers. For the most part, they spend the whole film running away, dancing on tables or moaning about Tiffany's I Think We're Alone Now. If I'd paid money to watch this film based on their involvement in the trailer, I'd feel pretty cheated. The whole movie feels like a 100-minute trailer to introduce characters which we may or may not get in the future. This is highly evident in a vomit-inducing final scene, which may as well have the words "to be continued" in bright pink neon letters across the screen. To be honest, I doubt we will even see any of these characters again in the future. I can't exactly see anyone queuing up for the sequel. You don't exactly need to be Madam Web to see into the future and realise that this franchise is fucked and has bombed before it has even begun.